hello. Welcome to the Color Whisperer Show. Here we talk about all things home and healing. And today we're going to talk about upholstery. Now, what about upholstery? You sit in a chair. Oh, there's so much about upholstery. And I was with a client this last week, and they didn't understand some of the terminology that I used. I'm like, wow, maybe this will be good for the show. Because it's not your job to know all of my terminology because that's what I went to school for, right? I don't know everything you do. I can't do all of your job. Otherwise, I wouldn't be an interior designer. And if you knew everything I did, you would be an interior designer and you wouldn't need me. And that wouldn't be good, right? So I thought, oh, you can see my colors on the wall. Let me see if I can change that. Oh goodness. I'm a little being a little indecisive here. It doesn't happen often, but it happens enough. All right, that makes me feel better. Okay, so behind me is this beautiful sofa, and so I thought I'd talk a little bit about all the makings that go into a really nice upholstery job. So we're going to go through some terminology first. So this is what got my clients. Let me see. I'll pull it out. All right. So you see this little detail here? This is called a welt. Maybe it looks like a rope to you or whatever. You can use actual rope. They do make all kinds of trimmings. Oh, there's gorgeous trimmings out there for upholstery or pillows. There's so many things you can do. Um, I will try to see if I can send Mark a couple pictures of some things I did that were really amazing with pillows. So let's see. Mark, can you see me while I'm talking here? While I'm doing this? Do you still see me? He's not
We still
looking.
see you. I had to see what was going on, but we still see you.
Okay, good. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to find a couple pictures here that really show off all the different things that can be done with pillows. Here we go.
While
This
you while you're doing that and you're bringing me the pictures, I had a quick question that had to do with upholstery and everything because I was actually reading an article that had nothing to do with upholstery. It actually had to do with the loneliness epidemic that we're in because apparently somebody said, I think it was our current Surgeon General, that it is almost as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes and all in that space. And then I started thinking to myself, Jeanette's talking about upholstery. She's talking about things that are very much part of our household, but sometimes people have habits and things that they are involved in that are part of their household as well. So I'm just wondering when you're dealing with upholstery, do you sometimes have to deal with how to deal with, say, I'm not a smoker, but I have friends that are smokers, and sometimes they're smoking certain substances. But whether those scents get into the upholstery as an interior designer, is that something that has to be considered? And also, do you have to consider pets? Because that's the two things that I thought about was, there are things that you have in your house, including on your rug, that unfortunately leave scents and all in that space. Our pets are definitely those, and we love our animals when we have them, and all in that space. And definitely, you have people that sometimes have habits like smoking, and it might lean some stuff to as well. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you ever have to consider as an interior designer,
yeah.
those aspects, particularly when dealing with things that can absorb those smells.
Okay, so we'll start with the pets. So
Yes.
um leather is not good for pets because they can scratch on it
Mhm.
or vinyl. There are some fabrics that are less pet friendly, shall we say?
Right.
And so I do try to work with those. And I find that with cats, I have cats, and that typically are the ones that like to scratch on things.
Mhm.
And it seems to be a personality thing for them because I've had a cat that loved to claw on the sofa, and they had a place to claw, but it didn't matter. So, and other cats couldn't possibly be interested. I had a client one time who we got her a new sofa, and she was really worried about the cat. And her husband sent her away for the weekend, and he wouldn't tell what he did, but the cats were probably the sofa after that weekend. So, I mean, there's things like water bottles. You can just spray at them when they do. They have double stick tape that you can put where they're doing. I personally didn't find that helped me a lot. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it where my cat liked to scratch, it didn't seem to do anything. I put a statue. So I have a statue of Mary that it's my grandmother.
Mhm.
I have more of my own personal religion. I'm not like I don't go to church every Sunday, but anyway, Mary and I have. So it was Mary the Sacred. She was supposed to protect the couch, and she didn't do such a good job. Cat could still get in there. So there's a lot of ways that you can deal with that. There is a spray out there that you can spray on it. The cats are not supposed to like. Again, just like people, every cat is different.
Okay.
As far as upholstery goes, um, there's a lot of things that happen on our couches and chairs that we probably don't want to talk about. And so my thing is like if it's a dining chair and it's a real easy, it's a so they have some that it's just the like a board and the fabric's wrapped around it and there's
Mhm.
not a lot of cush to it.
Mhm.
Okay, that is great. That's easy. Just throw away. You just go get some new batting, go get some new fabric. You can do it yourself with a staple gun. Real easy. Okay. They do have the ones that have a little bit more cush. That's okay. The dining table, stuff happens there, but less so. A lot of people don't really even use their dining rooms half the time, or even three-quarters of the time. So, maybe there's some food dropped on it, but we end up eating on our sofas. We end up doing all kinds of stuff. We sleep on our sofas. I mean, like, there's just all kinds of stuff that happens on a sofa or on a cushy chair. I personally, like, I don't mind buying antique furniture. Anything wood is fine, but somebody else's upholstery, unless you kind of know them, it comes with you. And from an energetic standpoint, a place that somebody has sat in a lot, whatever their energy is, it comes with them too. Much like, much like,
Jeanette, Jeanette, along those same lines, because you just got me with a very puzzling question now. Because you're the color whisperer, but you're also in a lot of ways the furniture whisperer and the interior whisperer as well. So I was just wondering, because as you were talking about the activities, and sometimes people will use everything from chairs to, of course, beds to couches to even wicker chairs and a number of other things for various activities. So I was just wondering,
I'm
do
just
the
saying.
I was just wondering, as a whisperer and as one that is listening to these conversations, do the furniture talk to you? Because there's some things that that-
Ah,
there's some things that the chairs might be trying to tell you, and the other people might be trying to tell you that you might be able to pick up on, and the people that you are their clients may not want you to know that that was going on in that particular environment. But I know that you are very empathetic and very much in tune to what is going on. So I'm thinking that there are probably times that you have stepped into a room and the chairs and the furnitures have practically been screaming at you as to what some of the activities were and all in that space. So am I onto something? Are you that much of an empath that sometimes the furniture is screaming at you, going like, "Hey, this couple's been having a little bit too much fun with me, and you need to tell them to move me to a different part of the room or to get rid of me because I'm tired of what they've been doing," and all in that space.
so first of all, everything kind of talks to me, and I don't always get the actual thing, but I'll get the feeling.
Right.
Okay, so now I have had a client. It's amazing and sad to me how many couples live in separate rooms.
Hmm.
And so I have had a couple clients who, oh, well, I walk in the guest room, and they introduce it to me as their guest room, and it smells like teenage boy. I mean, you can tell me why teenage boy smells like teenage boy better than I can, but it smells like teenage boy. And I'm like, there's no teenage boys around here. And I'm like, there's a lie here. So there are things that I do pick up on. Um, I went through a house, a very old house here yesterday, and it's a lodge, like a social lodge,
Right.
and it was really interesting how many different things that I was like. There were a lot of things that were kind of talking to me, and they were there's a lot of sadness, and considering this was a place that they have parties and stuff, I'm like, okay, what's this about? But it was really just sad that it hadn't been in use as much as it used to be.
Right.
And so um one of the first questions to here's a better way to answer your question. So one of the questions I ask with clients often is, when we're looking at a space, we have to deal with window treatments. And my favorite question is, so how much privacy do you need in here? Which is just a very nice way of saying, do you walk around the house naked? And some people, some people like a lot of light coming in their windows, and they either don't care, or they don't walk around the house naked, or they're set far enough back, they just like, hey, I've got a window in my house. It goes right by my closet, and I have to walk by this window to go into my closet. And I've got a pretty long backyard, and there's an old age home there, and there's a couple of people. If they're trying that hard, they'd have to sit there on the edge of their balcony with binoculars and stuff. I figure if they're trying that hard to see me, they deserve a show. There's so much easier ways that you can get a thrill these days with the onset of the internet. Like, if they're trying that hard, they deserve it. But the so some people just like, or they're very comfortable with it. I have a friend who is very comfortable with his body, and he walks around the house and he doesn't care. But he's had girlfriends and stuff in the past, like, shut the window, shut the door, you're offending somebody. He's like, hey, they're looking in my house. It's my house.
Look at his house. But along those same lines, because when my grandmother Mary was living, and I don't even know if it's still in the house, I sometimes think that people sometimes put up furniture intentionally in designated locations and everything because they know that it will resonate with a sense of guilt, whether no matter what you were doing, whether you were guilty or not, and everything. Because one of the things that I remember distinctly, and it's been a minute since I've been to that family household, and other folks even own or live in the house now. So I doubt very seriously that the picture that I'm getting ready to reference is still there. But I remember as a teenager, there was the kitchen, there was a little small dining room, and Grandma Mary would be in the kitchen. There was an outside like little area that had the glider, and I told you before that if I had a house, I might get a glider because I thought the glider was really cool. It was one of those little rusty gliders and everything, and it had a freezer. And if I had a house that was big enough, I might get not a refrigerator with a freezer, but I'm talking about like the full freezer that you can put in whole chickens and deer, so the big deep freezer and everything that you could keep in a house. And it had one of those. But in the living room space, which is a very sacred space to grandma and granddad, because they were both very much in their religious community. They were both, I would argue, devout Christians, and all in that space. There was a big picture of Jesus, and I can tell you that you were only going to do but so much. And I'm sure you've run across those houses because if you walked by, it didn't matter where you were in the living room, it looked like Jesus was following you around and looking at you the whole time and everything. So I'm sure that there was that whole kind of guilt complex, and sometimes you might even avert your eyes because you didn't necessarily want to have Jesus following you around, particularly if you were having some less than Jesus-like thoughts.
I've been in bedrooms where they have a picture of Jesus looking at the bed. And funnily enough, the husband and wife are in separate bedrooms. I can't imagine why.
Right.
what are you thinking? Another thing, don't have a picture of your parents staring at your bed.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's just like I get you love your parents and maybe you want, but don't have them staring at your bed. If you want, especially if you're looking for romance, it's not gonna help.
Well,
Uh,
that's not going to help. But I also had a friend of mine that literally, and I'm not knocking her because she was very close to her mother and everything. But I'm not sure how I felt because it was a romantic interest at the time, knowing that nearby it wasn't even in the same room. I think it was in a room that was a room off or a room two off and everything. But nearby were sentiments of her past and everything. So, sometimes after people are gone, they sometimes keep parts of that body and part of that spirit with them in whatever ways they want to keep that spirit. And I think folks get an idea of what I'm talking about. But I was not exactly overly comfortable knowing that then I never met the person. So, like I said, to me, it could have just been more. We were talking about cigarettes earlier. It could have been other ashes, but I knew that they had told me what those ashes were. So that can also play on a person's psyche as well.
and people are funny with ashes. I I only had to deal with one set of ashes, and I dealt with it the best way that I knew how, and in a way that I felt that it was my dad, and I did it in a way that I felt he would be most happy with. And it's weird playing with the ashes because it's not like we think of a fireplace ash. There's like flakes. It's like really, 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 really fine sand. And they said that so in World War II, the people who lived near the concentration camps,
Mhm.
they would, they would find this fine, really fine dust everywhere.
Mhm.
And, I guess one of the things they tried to say, we didn't know what was going on. And I mean, they may not have known what was going on, but they did know something was going on because it was a very fine dust. And I visited Arkansas many, many years ago, and I had a cousin that lived near a paper mill.
Mhm.
So there was this fine dust everywhere. I couldn't have lived there because it would just my lungs would not have liked it. But everywhere there was this fine dust. Well, ash dust is even finer than that. It's kind of one of those things like you don't think about it, and then it's there in your hands, and you're like, oh, But we imagine it to be a certain way, but it's
Right.
super super fine, and it is very difficult to get rid of it all. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, it's because it's so fine, it can go in little bits of your clothing and stuff. Anyway, I digress.
Mhm. Well,
So
not a total digression because I had asked you earlier about that because you go into some people's houses that are, and I'm sure you deal with that even as an interior designer, that they are cigarette smokers or maybe they smoke some of that other stuff as well. And I'm sure that there are times that you are wanting to tell them to get rid of the entire furniture because it reeks of cigarette smoke, but maybe they will just.
it doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother them. Actually, I haven't had too many clients that smoke. I did have one client who did regularly smoke pot, and the house smelled like it. It was pretty obvious what was going on. I had a client that had a sex couch. Have you ever seen a sex couch?
I've heard of them. I've never seen one, but I imagine this is.
So we didn't get into a lot of details, but so what it was there was a bench at the bottom of the bed,
Mhm.
and the bench was two pieces.
Mhm.
So it was kind of an S form, like it wasn't like a regular S. It was just kind of elongated. So
Right.
um, I think I sent you a picture. Did I send you a picture?
You just sent me a picture a minute ago, and I'm going to bring that picture up and
I
everything.
sent
'Cause
you
I
a
did.
picture.
Yeah.
Check your email. If I might have sent you a picture, I might have got distracted and didn't send you a picture. So
No.
anyway, it's a foam bench, but it's not flat. It's got kind of an S curve to it. I don't know how it works, but they told me that's what it was. And then there's this bench that the top of it you can take it off, and then there's the top part that fills in that S part, and you can have it as a regular bench at the bottom of your bed. So it doesn't really look like what it is, but you can take the top part off and then you can do however you use it. I guess the angle's better or something. I didn't ask a lot of questions.
Well, people have all kinds of toys that they use and everything. I've even heard people say that they were, sometimes when people are in repressive mode, some things excite them more
Right?
than others. Because I remember I had a friend of mine that literally got excited by wicker, and like I said, I don't know if they were enjoying the scratch from sitting in the wicker or what was going on with the wicker, but they had
They're
been
very
in a,
tactile.
huh?
They're very tactile. I don't wicker to me is uh, I mean it does bend a little bit, so I can see where that might be interesting. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
people, different things attract and
right?
uh, impact different folks. It could have been tickling motion when other things were going on because sometimes people like different things happening. So there's no telling why people are attracted to what they're attracted to. Like I know some people, speaking of upholstery, are very much attracted to water beds, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about that because I do know that that used to be a thing in the 70s and the 80s. I don't know if the Gen Z people even know what a water bed is, but I would love to hear your
So
thoughts around that because definitely that was very much of a 70s and 80s thing, and maybe it's a thing in the year 2023. But it would be interesting to see if folks have thoughts about the waterbed as well.
I have not seen a waterbed since I was 7 years old, and I had a couple. My cousin had one, and I remember sitting on that and going, "Well, how do you even sleep on this?" Because it was all over the place. I myself had a flotation bed when I was in high school, and a flotation bed is a water bed, but it's firmer. It has foam. It had like 4-inch piece of foam all around the edges. So when you get on a waterbed, you're just like, this wasn't like that. It was you couldn't move as anywhere near as much as you could on a waterbed. I don't know how you sleep on a waterbed.
I don't know how you sleep on a waterbed either, but then again, sleeping on some other things that were popular can be difficult as well. Because another thing that was popular back in the day that a lot of people used to enjoy, and me and my younger brother had one in the 70s. But if you are a roller, you might wind up with the non-benefit of what I'm going to mention. But some people love bunk beds, and I remember having a bunk bed as a preteen. I think I was at that particular time, but I literally remember having the top bunk. I think Malik had, my brother had the bottom bunk, and I remember one time, just like the water bed, sometimes in the middle of a sleep, you may dream, you may just toss and turn for whatever reason you're tossing and turning. And if you toss and turn on a bunk bed, you might fly off said bunk bed. So I do remember rolling off and landing with a nice big thump on the
Oh
floor.
no!
I think my brother looked down and said, "You all right?" I said, looked up, felt myself as a young teenager and said, "Yep, I'm all right." He said, "Good." And we went both to sleep. I did not try to climb back on the bunk bed. I think that particular night I slept on the floor because I was like, I'm not going back up there. I think I'll be perfectly fine down here and everything. I think the next night or maybe a couple of nights later, I went back up to the top and there was never any other incidences. But I do remember that it was a nice little fall, and it wasn't like a super big bunk bed. Otherwise, that would have been even more problematic. But still, I did roll off because it didn't have guardrails or anything else on it.
Mm. I did have a bunk bed when I was a kid, and it did have a little guardrail as part of the ladder,
Right.
so I never fell off. But I do have a bunk bed story. So I was in England. I spent a semester abroad in England, and we took a weekend trip to Edinburgh, and we stayed in a youth hostel. Now this was my first time staying in a youth hostel, and for people who've never seen a youth hostel, basically this was a big room and it was filled with bunk beds, and you pay like a few dollars a night. It's cheaper than Motel 6. Maybe
Yeah.
you would pay, like today's world, you might pay like 10, 15 bucks. And basically you get a bed, and there's not really privacy. There's shower, there's bathrooms, and they have different rules. Some of them you have to help with it, some of them you just pay. Some of them have breakfast, some don't. Some have little kitchenettes for you to use. But basically, it's like camping, but you're on vacation. And
Hmm.
so I found a bottom bunk, and I was like, okay, cool. And about midnight, right before the place closed. this guy comes in. He reeked of alcohol. This was my first time in one of these places. And I'm still pretty young, and I was just like, and he kept making noises, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to throw up on me. Fortunately, he never did. But I didn't get much sleep last night because I was just like, okay, I need to be on alert and be ready to move. And it was late enough. There was no other place for me to move to. And it just, he came in like right before the doors closed. And I was like, okay. I told my friends, I'm getting out of here. I want to go home. But they're like, oh, Jeanette, you're making nothing out of it. I'm like, well, you didn't have to, there was a lot of, it was not a comfortable sleep for him. So that's my bunk bed story.
Sounds fascinating. So yeah, those bunk beds, you got to watch out for those bunk beds. They'll get you into all kinds of trouble at all kinds of time.
Indeed. So fortunately, nothing happened bad, and after that, I moved to a different bunk bed, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the top bunk this time. At least I don't have to worry about something falling on me.
You don't worry about people causing troubles.
Oh goodness.
Because if you cause troubles, that would have been it. But I did find these pictures that you had sent me. Like you just said, the one is a very large bed, and it looks like a fun
Yes.
bed all in that space. So that is the pictures that I'm going to bring
Okay.
up, and you can tell us about this lovely piece of furniture and how that was involved in some of the work that you do as well. Let's see if I can get it to come up if it wants to cooperate.
This is a very unique space. So my clients, they really like eclectic stuff, and they had a bunch of eclectic furniture, but she tended to like. I would call it. It's a little bit modern. It's a little bit rustic, so it has lots of texture to it. Has but clean lines, simple lines, and she really liked stuff that looked like it had a story to it. So she found stuff that was more unique, and then they took a trip to India, and she fell in love with India. And she came back and she says, Jeanette, how can we make bring some of that here? So this is what we did. So you can see there's a lot of texture in the wood. It's a very basic bed, but we've got a couple of different types of wood. And so what we did, this shows off some of the trim that we did. So she wanted the canopy thing, and that's all custom made. We tried to find one, tried to make one. No, we had to make that custom. So that's a metallic sheer, and it's so pretty. So yes, you can see through it. You can kind of see the pink behind the walls, and then the little carousel thing at top is more solid. It's a different fabric. It's the fabric that you see on the side of the bed because that needed to be solid. We didn't want to see the workings of the canopy. And then we made, I don't know if you can zoom in, Mark. We made these little holdbacks for the canopy, just right there on the edge of the bed. Can you zoom in on the front edge of the bed? No, on the back corner. There we go. To the right, to the left.
I think that's the most I can zoom in on that one.
Okay. Anyway, so we got these little, but what we did with the pillows, and this is a custom duvet as well. So she fell in love with all of these shears, and the leaf pattern is so beautiful. It's a silk sheer, and I was showing it to her as a possibility for the drapery there. And she goes, oh, no, I love it. I want it for the bed. And I said, okay, well, we can do that, but we have to put something underneath of it. So this is what we did. So we have the pillows, and we put the sheer overlay on top of it. So you can see there's a fabric underneath. You can see that front pillow. It's a nice shiny fabric. It goes with the rest.
Yeah.
Then we have several kinds of trim. You can see there's little bead trim there. I don't know if you can see it or not. On the side of where the lace is,
Hmm.
There's a trim, there's an embroidered trim. You can see it better on the little round pillow.
Yeah.
You see there's an edge detail there. So
Yeah.
that's a special trim that we added.
Mm.
And then the back pillow has a ruffle on it. So these are all different ways to handle pillows. We did a special button. You see the round
Yep.
pillow, there's a yellow. So basically we wrapped the button in the yellow sheer to create that, to bring that through. And then this duvet cover is really an amazing. My upholsterer, my drapery guy did an amazing job with this.
Is
So
that the same guy that we talked to that time?
no, this is a different guy. This was a while ago. I didn't know him then. He could do this. He would do this, but I didn't know him at that point. Actually, he wasn't even in the business at that point.
Gotcha.
So we have a solid fabric, and then in the center of it we have that trim going around, and then the sheer overlay. And then for the bed skirt part, that's the same sheer as the canopy part, and we attach that there for the drop. So it really is a lot of work. It's very, very custom, and it's stunning. You know, she loved it. And
Oh, it definitely captures your attention. Everything. I do have a quick question because I think that what I'm seeing, and I know I've got one here in my apartment, but when you're doing these upholstery outlets, I'm seeing a light up at the top, and I'm seeing what looks like to be at least partially a. I'm thinking a fan because based on like I have here in this apartment and everything, but
there's a fan there.
I know that sometimes people also will, particularly their bedrooms, have mirrors and everything on their furniture walls and everything. How much of those fixture type elements, whether it's a light or a fan, or those that want to be on the kink side, they have the mirrors. How much of that do you have to incorporate into the interior designing? Because I'm thinking that, well, one, I'm imagining that the paint was changed to kind of match the style of furniture when you were doing this interior design. Like I'm doubting that that was the original color of the wall, maybe not even the original color of the fan. And say there was a mirror up there that might have to be changed as well. So how much of that in existing stuff has to be incorporated into the interior design?
So it's all together. You've got to put everything together. I like having everything together at the same time. Um, I think in this particular case, um, it's been a long time. I remember we did have to paint something. I think we painted the ceiling maybe,
That's what it was looking like.
or well, this I like doing. This is the same color on the ceiling and the walls. It's just two different strengths.
Okay.
And I've had some guys look at this and go, "A man doesn't live in this room." I said, "Yeah," and he's very happy actually.
Mhm.
But he fell in love with the India too, and he fell in love with her. And many men, it's happy wife, happy life. They
Yeah.
don't care so much. Um, you asked me a question. I'm so sorry. I got just the you just asked me about fans. So fans, some people are hot at night, some people
Right.
are cold at night. And if there's a fan, now this room had a fan, and women of a certain age really like fans. Um, I haven't reached that age yet, apparently, but
It happens at different ages for different people.
some people just they really like to sleep cold. I had a friend from college, and it would be freezing outside, or at least as much as California gets freezing, and you'd walk in her room. She's got all the windows open. I'm like, how can you sleep in here? It's like sleeping in a refrigerator, but she loves it. So, some people they really just like having that fan going, and for me, it's like no. So you just kind of it's this is part of the intimate part of interior design is like what's going to make them happy. Like I don't need to know, I need to know if they need privacy, how much they walk around the house naked. I don't need to know. you know do they have sex in the living room, in the kitchen, in the bathroom? I don't necessarily need to know that unless we're putting furniture there for them to do it. I just need to know what's going to fit for them. So if somebody sleeps hot, then we got to have a fan. And when somebody
You
says, I,
you mean if they watch 9.5 weeks, you don't have to give them two refrigerators?
I don't know, I don't know about that. That's been way too long. Anyway, but if somebody says, I need a fan to sleep, I don't question it. It's just, how do we make this work? I've never seen mirrors on a ceiling. I think that's a 70s thing. I've never seen mirrors on a ceiling.
It could be a 70s thing. I would be a little bit scared to have a mirror on the ceiling because I don't think that there's sometimes you don't necessarily want the mirror staring back at you. It's kind of like that Jesus
Well,
thing going on. So I'm not a, but wasn't a big fan even in the 70s when they were talking about mirrors on the ceiling. I think I did go some places not that long ago that still had the mirror on the ceilings, but they might have had that 70s mentality and all in that space. But yeah, I'm
well,
not a,
California here too. So the last thing you want over your head in an earthquake is a mirror.
that's true.
Because if that thing falls, and that could, or if it cracks and it's sharp, that could cause some serious damage.
Well, the serious damage, and if you are of the superstitious sort, and I know that that's not always the lanes that you live in, is not always the lane that I live in, but if you're the
Oh,
superstitious
no, I
sort
don't.
and the mirror falls and cracks, well, isn't that supposed to be 7 years bad luck or something like that? So, like,
I don't subscribe to that. But if a mirror falls and cracks and the sharp edge goes into your body somewhere and creates a lot of blood, that's bad luck.
yeah.
There's a wonderful movie. Oh, what's it called? It's called Dead Again. It's got Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson in it. Oh, okay. It's a really good murder mystery. And there's this scene with scissors and mirrors. It's really awesome. But there's I don't want to, how do I, anyway, there's this really incredible scene with scissors where the scissors are, it's an art, hanging piece of art is these scissors, and they come down and and so, but a chunk of mirror in an earthquake would do the same thing. So we are, we don't fret every day. I mean, we don't have warnings about earthquakes, we don't have earthquake season or anything like that. However, we are very aware of what we're putting over our bed, and how heavy is it, and what if it were to fall on us. So maybe that's why I've never seen mirrors, because we're pretty conscious of that.
Yeah, y'all are conscious that you just asked, you just raised another question that I had never thought about to ask you, Jeanette. But here in North Carolina, it's not like we have tons of them, but when they come and everything, if a tornado is to come, and we are about to be in the midst of our tornado season and all of that space, but if a tornado was to come, there is a siren that is emitted to let folks know that the tornado is coming. I think it even might even give a radio announcement or something along those lines. Y'all don't have those in California for earthquakes, so like I know that there is a shrieking siren when if a tornado is about to come. Do y'all get some sort of siren warning with an earthquake?
There's no warning. It's just all of a sudden the earth is moving, and it moves until it stops. So there's no warning. I mean, they talk about earthquake weather.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't. I'm not going to give that any credibility. And there is no season for it. It's, the
So there's no warning symbol like there is for
most
this
of
one.
the time, I will say 90% of the time, probably 99% of the time, the earthquake is just this, and it's over.
Mm.
Occasionally, you'll get a little bit of a roll. Maybe it might, a little one maybe might last all of 30 seconds, maybe a minute, but that might be just like, it's kind of like going on a really low, like a kiddie roller coaster. And so you're just kind of feeling the shake like a little one. Now, I was in the Northridge earthquake. I was in, well, there's a big earthquake when I was a little girl, but I don't remember. But the Northridge earthquake, that was scary because that lasted, it felt like forever. I don't know how long it was, but it felt like forever because it just, usually it's like a little shake and maybe a little roll, and maybe you get a couple of those. But this one kept going and kept going, and it kept getting worse. And we're like, oh my God, what do we do? Do we move? Do we stay? Do we? And so And there were people that had major, major issues, like a freeway fell during that.
Wow.
What was really unnerving on that one is all the aftershocks. So most of the time, a little one won't really have, there might be a couple aftershocks, even like a four pointer, you might have a couple aftershocks, but they're just another little, blip. This one, we had aftershocks for hours. Hours we had aftershocks.
Oh,
And it was really interesting because um, my mother, she had a lot of responsibilities with my sister and my dad and stuff. And it was a 3-day weekend, and she said, I want to come spend the weekend with you. Okay. She'd never done anything like that before. My sister has some cognitive issues, and really, my mom being away from my sister for any length of time is pretty amazing. So I was like, okay, mom, sure, let's do this. Let's have fun. I don't know if she knew. I don't know if it was God's way of just keeping me, protected. But I had her there with me that day, and I had to bring her back home. And but the the earthquake was at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and 10, 11 o'clock, it was still aftershocks. And
wow.
that's the only time. And I don't know what time they stopped. They continued after that. Um, but I was on the road, and then I was in a place where I wasn't feeling them anymore after that. So
Yeah,
it,
you want to,
they
yeah,
went on
okay.
for quite some time. So that was and you do get a little bit of okay, how big is this, an aftershock or is this another earthquake? And what does that look like? So
Mm,
that, but I mean, literally that one. And then when I was in college, there was a big one. And I barely felt it. There's been a couple up in the mountains that I've barely felt that were pretty decent. But as far as in my lifetime, there's only been three that caused major damage.
well, those fault lines are everywhere. We've even had a couple here in North Carolina, but they are rare. We've definitely had them because I remember one. I was literally at work at the great company, and everybody was like, "Why is the building shaking?" And that's when we realized that we had had one of our rare fault lines and everything, earthquakes. And like I said, they happen rarely, but they do happen, just not as often as they happen there in California. But yeah, those fault lines are all over the country and all over the world. So yeah, we get ours every blue moon.
Did I tell you my England story about that?
Mm-mm.
I was on the fourth floor of the dorms, and the radio was saying hurricane winds. Now I don't know the difference between a hurricane wind and a hurricane, because to me that's the same thing, but apparently it's not. And one whole room of one whole wall in my room is all glass, and I'm watching huge chunks of the roof fly off, big pieces of metal go flying off, and I'm like, what if one of them hits my window? And I'm sitting here going, I've never been in anything like this. So I went to my English friends. I'm like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, there's big chunks of the roof. Oh, Jeanette, it's just wind. It'll calm down. I'm like, no, no, no. But what do you do? Oh, it's no big deal. Okay. So I had a fellow Californian on the second floor. So I went to her and I said, hey, can I hang out with you for a little while? It's scary up there. She goes, yeah, sure, Jeanette, no problem. So I hung out with her for a few hours, and I went to bed and I said some extra long prayers, and in the morning everything was fine. So we had a 3-week break between trimesters, and in the middle of that, they had a little baby earthquake, and I barely felt it. It was one where you're like, oh, it's an earthquake, and you roll over. Like it doesn't even wake you. For me, it didn't even really. It's like, oh, it's there. Okay, it didn't wake me up so much.
Okay.
It wasn't anything to like go stand under a doorway for. It wasn't anything to even, okay, do I need to think about going to stand under a doorway? It was just a little baby roller.
So you
And
weren't going to try to track this storm, Jeanette? Because I know some people in the hear of tornadoes, they try to go follow them or track them, and I'm going like I'm trying to go the opposite way. But there are some people that literally like to even not be actual meteorologists, but just folks that like to have that sense of adventure. So they want to go in the middle and try to run down the tornadoes and run down
yeah,
others.
chase an earthquake. So anyway, when I got back to school, this is like a week and a half later. Several of them came. Jeanette, did you feel the earthquake? Did you feel the earthquake? My English friend. Jeanette, did you feel the earthquake? I'm like, yeah, the earth moves. But. Yeah, it does that, So it's what we're used to. I went to an airport on your side of the country, and they had this like tornado safety zone in the bathroom, and I'm like, what? Like, okay, it's just like my head doesn't quite grok it.
Your head doesn't quite process it. Speaking of things that your head might process or not process, today is May 5th. We had mentioned that earlier and everything. So, are there times that you have to do things that are holiday themed? Because I imagine there might be times that you have designed houses, maybe even with a Halloween theme or a Cinco de Mayo theme, because maybe there are times that the house will have its permanent theme that people have for month on end, but then there might be times that people just want to have a interior design that is more limited in its time scope. Because, like I said, Cinco de Mayo comes once a year. Those folks that love Cinco de Mayo go practice Mexican independence, even though I'm not sure that that was the exact date and that it's even practiced all that much in Mexico and everything. But it is a big holiday, and some folks just like to go as an excuse, as we said earlier, to have a margarita and or a Corona or some other spirit of choice and everything. So what will you be doing, and have you done anything in the past to celebrate or do interior designing that is theme oriented?
We have a huge Mexican population, or Hispanic. I don't know what the right word is anymore. A Hispanic population here, so it is a big deal. I have not had anybody want to design in those colors. I do find that it's really all about personality. Some people want more color, some people want less color.
Right.
And that's really what it's about. And today I'm going to the Pasadena Showcase House. It's they do this every year. It's about 4 weeks, and you get to go through a house that's designed. Each room is designed by a different designer, and there's different new ideas and stuff like that. And so that's my plan for the day. And if I get done in time, then I'm not going to do any drinking. I've got other stuff planned that if I can get done in time, I will do it. I've got a class I can go to, but I don't know if I'm going to make it or not.
Yeah,
But
you'll make it.
I'm not a big Cinco de Mayo person. And it's just, it doesn't even matter Cinco de Mayo. If it was another holiday, it wouldn't matter. It's my day today is about design and going to see the showcase house.
Well, the showcase house sounds amazing, but you're not going to um, pick a Kentucky Derby house because maybe it has interior in its title, or maybe it has design in its title, or it has color in its title. Like maybe there's a horse. I haven't even looked at what the horses are, but let's just say that there's a horse called Red Thunder. Maybe you'll pick that horse because it's got red in the title, or uh,
No,
green.
I've got a pretty decent track record with picking sports teams based on their color. I could try it with horses. I've never done it.
Hey, that might be it. Might have to try it. The Kentucky Derby is coming up this weekend and everything because it's that whole run of the races that is the Triple Crown, and I'm pretty sure it's the Kentucky Derby is the one this week. I don't think it's the Belmont or the Preakness, but I do know that it is a popular thing. That whole Triple Crown space, and like I said, I've oftentimes, because of fear and loathing, said that I wanted to go do this one of these days in my life, and just haven't got around to it as of yet. And like I said, it just sounds Fear and Loathing is a gonzo journalist, Hunter S. Thompson, and all in that space. And he immersed himself in some of his stories, whether that was stories around pot, whether that was stories around horse racing. I think he immersed himself on one around politics. I think that was Fear and Loathing on the campaign trail or something along those lines. But he definitely did one with the Kentucky Derby, and it just looked like from what I read, because think they made a movie about it, but I don't remember seeing the movie. I definitely remember reading the book. It just seemed like one good and big party. So that with people drinking mint juleps, getting their dances on, definitely enjoying the horses. And like I was telling you jokingly earlier, I'm sure the horses were sitting there going like, these humans are having a big party on us, and all we get for this is like something wrapped around our neck and maybe a little extra in our feed. This does not seem fair in our book. Like I said, I am a
They
somewhat of
might let him run around the
a
corral a little bit more.
huh?
They may let him run around the corral a little bit more.
Well, that's true. They do let them run around the corral a little bit more. They get to hang out with some other horses that they might not have been hanging out with if they were not at the Kentucky Derby. So maybe they have a little bit more benefit than I am thinking that they get. But they're probably looking at us humans and thinking that we're getting the better end of the deal. But I could be wrong. But I'm thinking they're looking at us going like they're having a party on our sake, and we're not having as much fun as they are.
I don't know much about the Kentucky Derby, but I do live near the home of Seabiscuit.
Oh, cool.
So I've seen they got a nice statue for her. I've done the tour. They have a Seabiscuit tour, and you get to go through the grounds, and that's pretty cool.
But one of the movies that we were showing was we started this new thing called the Pod TV events because we got technically four channels. There's the movie channel that shows old classic movies and all in that space. There's the kids channel, and you go to podtv.tv, you'll see all of this stuff. And then there is events, and events is a combination of concerts and lectures. So I find different concerts and different lectures. And one of the lectures that I have been re-airing is a lecture about one of the greatest athletes of all time, that being Secretariat. So it's a lecture that somebody who was involved with Secretariat's racing career talks about his running days, and that was one of the Kentucky Derby winners that also did the whole Triple Crown and all in that space. So that's one of the lectures that exists on the event page, and then there's the regular live stuff like what folks are watching now. If they're watching us live on either Roku or on the podtv.tv website. So that is some of the other things that is going on, and they might even, I think that lecture is still up, and I don't think I've taken it down. So since it's the Kentucky Derby, I'll probably keep that lecture as part of the routine at least through another week or two, and all in that space. So they can go
When
see
is the
this
Kentucky Derby?
gentleman give testimony about his experience with Secretariat.
When is the Kentucky Derby?
It is Saturday, I believe. I think it is. It's either Saturday or
What?
Sunday, but it is this weekend. It is definitely this weekend because this is a weekend of a lot of major sports activity. But yes, I'm pretty sure that it is this weekend because it's always usually right around the first of the month. I'm going to actually look up the exact date because I can never remember it's Saturday or Sunday, but for some reason Saturday is coming to mind. But yep, it is May 6th, so that would be tomorrow. Is the actual running of the Kentucky Derby. There are some other races that are going on even as we are speaking because there are races that take place and all in that space because there's even the Oaks, which is the one with the Phillies and all in that space. So yes, there is the race will be on Sunday after Saturday afternoon, and there are people that are already picking their odds as to who will win and all in that space. So yes, it is coming up on this Saturday at 6:57 p.m. because it is one of the fastest races out there, and it's a 21 horse field. So it's going to be a whole lot of horses running the Kentucky Derby because it is 21 horses that are competing.
Wow, very cool. I learned something today.
You learned something new today. Hey, and not only that, it's the 149th running of the horse race in Louisville, Kentucky. So they've been doing this for a while, 149 years. That's a whole long time to be running horses, but they've
That's a
been doing
very long time. I don't think the Rose Parade's been going on that year. I think we just did the 100th anniversary of Rose Parade. I don't think we've been around 150 years.
Well, they're already saying what celebrities will be there, what influencers will be there, what famous athletes will be there, because definitely that is part of what goes on in the Kentucky Derby. Is people sometimes spend time looking in the stands to see who will appear in the stands and be in their greatest finery, because that is the other thing. It's like a Easter service in some ways, in the sense that people try to come dressed to their nines and dressed to impress, as they like to say. So definitely there will be some parties and some activities, and I'm sure people will be going to those parties and checking them out and trying to be dressed to the nines in their finest tails and feathers, to borrow that old saying. And, the other thing that's going on this weekend is the coronation of the king. So King Charles will be coronated this weekend as well. So some people will be paying attention to the Kentucky Derby, and other folks will be paying attention to the fineries of the that activity. I know we're getting to wind down, but just out of curiosity, have you ever thought that you would like to, even in when you were a child, do interior designing for a castle or a royal house? Or have you had the experience? Maybe for all I know, you've already done a royal house, but have you ever thought that you wanted
No,
to
I've never done
design a royal house?
I would love something like that. I watched The King's Speech. Do you remember that movie?
I
And
remember.
there's some of the like I'd go watch it again. I mean, it's a great movie, but the architecture, there's a couple scenes where like they're going down the staircase. I'm like, oh my god, and people looking at me, what's the matter with you, But I'm like, it's just the architecture is so beautiful. Um, it would be, I mean, that certainly would be an amazing thing to be able to do, is to do something like that. Though they get people who, you have to be seen. Business is all about marketing and
Yeah,
making sure the right people see you, and it's a challenge at times.
definitely.
So I've had a couple, maybe C or D grade, um, C or D uh, actor, celebrity type folk, but I don't live like in the heart of LA, so
Right.
I don't, but I live close enough that they're around, and I've done a few.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? They're people. They're
Yeah,
still people.
they're
You know,
just people at the end of the day. I have bad news for you. I just happened to look in and everything. I think I said there was 21 and all in that space, and it might be down to 20 because it looks like some might have dropped out. And I hate to tell you this, but when I look at the names of the horses, because we said that if you were picking it, you
oh,
might be picking on colors. None of them have color in their title. The closest I saw was
oh,
Sun Thunder because the horses' names, and I'll just give you the names, and maybe one of them will resonate with your interest and everything. But the horses' names are that are running are Forte, Practical Move, Angel of Empire, um, Tap It Trice, two
what?
two fields, tap it trice. So not tap it twice, but tap it trice. Two fields, Lord Miles, Derma Satagagi, I'm guessing that's a Japanese horse or so horse that somewhere else and that space. King's Barnes, Ray's Cane, Rocket Can, good name for a horse. Hit Show,
I
Hit
like
Show.
Rocket Can.
I like Rocket Can. Hit Hit Can, uh, Hit Show, Confidence Game, Verifying, good name for a horse. Sun Thunder,
I do
Maji,
Thunder. Sometimes I like Sun Thunder a lot.
yeah, Sun Thunder I like too. Disarm, Reincarnate, and
Ooh, that's
Jason, yeah, Jason's Road, Skinner, and Continuer. Those are the
that's a
20.
good one too.
Huh?
That's a good one too. Let's see who wins. So
Let's
I
take
like Continuer,
yeah,
Rocket. What was the Rocket one?
Sun Thunder. You
Sun
liked
Thunder?
Sun Thunder. I think it was Rocket Can.
Rocket Can, and there was one other in the beginning that I liked.
What was it? There was one of the that was at the beginning. It wasn't Two Fields. It wasn't Tap It Trice.
It was after Tap It Twice.
After Tap It Trice was Two Fields. Lord Miles
Two
was
two fields.
wait, huh?
It's two fields. Two
Two
fields.
Fields, right? Two Fields, right?
Those are my four. So let's
Yeah.
see who wins.
Let's see if one of those wins. Cool. You've heard the four.
Colors. Do they have colors? Do
They
they?
do have colors on them. I mean, they're mostly brown.
They're
They're mostly the colors of their outfits. And like Verifying has a green jacket. It looks like it looks kind of yellowish for Confidence Game. Looks kind of. Oh, hold on a second. I can show you the horses. I can do better than that. We can actually look at the horses and you can see their colors because otherwise I'll be probably giving all kinds of wrong names to the colors and all in that space. So hold on one second. We'll just take a look really quickly at some of the horses that are running and all in that space, and you can see the colors that I am talking about. And then we'll get ready to get out of here shortly as well, and all in that space. We'll take a look at some of these colors of their jersey outfits and all in that space. So here we go. Da-da-da-da-da. And then I'll bring them up because that was the first one. And we'll go through the list very quickly once I bring it up. but this is the first horse. That, and then I got to go through the list and everything. So that is where was that at? Hold on. Oh,
Two, two something.
huh?
Is that two something?
That was the first horse, and that was Forte.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Forte.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about that one.
Not excited about that one. That was Forte. And let's see if I can get some of the other. Yeah, that one didn't excite me either. And then I didn't see a picture for Practical Move. This looks like Angel Empire.
Nope.
That was Angel Empire.
Nope.
I wasn't excited about Angel Empire either. And then we'll get to this is Tappet Trice.
Yeah, it's better.
That's better. It's better colors, but I'm gonna get the ones that you picked and everything, and that way it'll be easier because that's Two Fields. Didn't see a picture for Two Fields. Derma had a picture, but let me see if I can get to. I did see a picture for Rocket Can. There's a picture for Rocket Can.
Ooh, I like him.
That's Rocket Can.
Oh, I like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's Rocket Can. See if I can get some of these
I
other ones.
like that horse. He's got gumption.
He does have gumption. This
That
and then,
gumption.
and this is Hit Show.
No.
Yeah, I think you're right. Rocket Can had gumption. There was another one, Confidence Gain, and here's Confidence Gain. So far, I didn't feel it's that much gumption from them, but Rocket Can definitely had gumption. There was another one that you liked, Verifying. I think you said no. Verifying wasn't one you liked. Sun Thunder. Sun Thunder doesn't have a picture, unfortunately. At least not in this one. Disarm. Disarm just kind of like looks like this horse is just chilling. This horse is not trying to run. This horse just looks like it's just chilling, and it's actually Disarm at bath time. So that picture was after it took its bath. So it's
He's
just
tired. He's tired.
he just had a bath. He just sit there. He's like, I just had a bath. I'm just gonna go and take a nap right now. This is Jason's Road, and that had that. Yeah, it wasn't really the one that we saw the pictures of so far. I think the Rocket Can was the one that used. It had lots. Oh, and this is Continuer, which is the Japanese horse.
Yeah, I still like Rocket Can.
Yeah,
All right,
right.
let's see who wins.
Let's see who wins. Cool. But that was some of the pictures of some of the horses according to that article. I'm sure there were some other ones as well, but we'll see who wins. I like Rocket Can too, and coming out of the gate like a rocket can or a can on rocket on fire or something like that. I could see that being the winning horse, but we'll see who actually wins and all in that space. The funny thing is that there's all that lead up and everything, but it's also the fastest sport in the world. Because literally the race itself takes literally about 3.5 minutes. So like I said, there's all the lead up, there's all the commentary, and then the horses come bolting out of the gate, and then you blink your eyes and you're going like, "Oh, race is over."
Like riding a roller coaster. You wait 3 hours for 3 minutes. And
exactly. This is very fast that way. Well, this has been a fun conversation. We covered everything, including wicker chairs and everything else, and all in that line, and mirrors and everything. And I'm with you because I'm going like, even just simple cuddling. I don't know if I want the mirror looking back at me and doing the whole a mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all routines and everything.
I don't know. I just wouldn't want it falling on me.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was 20, but
when you were 20, there was all kinds of things.
My body was a little different, but
when you were 20, there's a lot of things that you can get away with. When friends of mine get injured and everything just from day-to-day life, I jokingly tell them that they needed to stop swinging from the chandeliers. Those days had long passed them by and everything, so they needed to stop trying to swing from the chandelier routines. They worked when they were in their 50s and their 20s, but now they're in their 50s and their 60s. They need to stop it. It's not going to work.
I don't recommend hanging from the chandeliers, really.
No. Not at a certain age. I don't even recommend it for the 15 and the 20-year-old, but at least they can recover faster and everything. But I don't recommend it for 50s that are in their 50s or 60s. It won't end well.
Yeah, it's bad for the house too.
It is bad for the house, and the house will.
Chandeliers aren't really built for that, so.
They're not built for that at all. That is not in their. That is not in their design plan.
Oh goodness, we gotta go. We are
We are going. I'm going to end with. I was trying to find our favorite sponsor.
Kendo. I love Kendo Spice.
That's what I was trying to get to. Was to get to Kendo Spices so we can
Love
get
my
on.
Kendo Spice. Makes
You've
me
been
happy.
over there sampling it. She asked me if I could get you to do
Some,
a 15 or 20-second spot for her at some point where you say how great the Kendo
I
Spice
would
is.
be happy to. Be happy.
I'll have to send you a link, and maybe we'll do it one of these afternoons where you can just come on and do like a 2-minute segment where you talk about how much you love the Kendo Spice.
All right.
Cool. Well, right now we're gonna get on out of here.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy your Corona, enjoy your margarita or your tequila, whatever it is, and have a wonderful weekend. And hey, let's all root for what was the name again? Oh crap, I forgot her name. Was it
Rocket Can.
Rocket Can? How can I forget? Such a beautiful horse. All right, let's all root for Rocket Can and let's see what happens. Woohoo!
All right.
Rocket Can for the win.
Rocket Can for the win. And on that note, let's check out Kendo Spice.
All right.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.